Welcome, everyone. My name is Achit, and I will be your moderator this evening. Join Practice Booster contributor and dental consultant Lindsay Salazar for proven ways to understand what constitutes a clean claim and why they are crucial to your revenue cycle, identify the different types of denials which tell you where the holes are in your dental billing processes, and optimize the clean claims process and avoid claim processing delays, rejections, and non-payments. If at any point you have a question, please type into the box labeled "Have a Question," and we will conduct a live Q&A at the end of the webinar. To talk with other attendees, navigate to your control panel at the bottom of your screen and click the chat icon. Schein is not offering CE credit for viewing or attending this presentation live or on demand. Lindsay, welcome.
Thank you. Well, welcome everybody. I'm really excited for you to join me. Didn't Achu do a great job introducing this webinar? Great job, thank you. So today we're going to talk about clean claim management made easy, save time, reduce frustration, and get your claims paid faster. Here's a little bit of information about me. I work with eAssist Publishing and eAssist Dental Solutions. I'm an advisor. So I've been in dentistry for the past 24 years, and I started off my senior year of high school. I went to dental assisting school and became a certified dental assistant, and continued on into the dental field as a hygiene coordinator and a sterile tech. So I started here and definitely have gone through a lot of climbing in my years. And then now I'm a dental consultant as well. So with my clinical experience as a dental assistant and administration management also really helps me bring such a different insight to dental teams. I'm an active member of the Speaking Consulting Network, and I look forward to being a support and coach to you and your team, investing in your practice and creating leaders and producing long-term relationships. All right, so a little bit about eAssist. We invented optimized revenue cycle management and front office services for dentists. For more than 10 years, the eAssist platform has been putting more money back in the pockets of the nation's dedicated dentists, reducing the stress of their teams and creating more reliable cash flow. Our platform is comprised of dental billing specialists serving over 2,300 dental offices and DSOs. To date, we have collected more than $9.34 billion from insurance companies. So some things here to share with you about the nation's #1 leading dental billing company with eAssist Dental Solutions is we've been on the Inc. 500 and the Inc. 5000 for the 7th year in a row. We did hit the Inc. 5000. We are endorsed by the California Dental Association. We are on Utah's fastest growing companies. And as you can see, the Fortune 100 companies has nominated us to be one of the best places to work for. So to date, we've collected over more than $9.34 billion from insurance companies on behalf of dental practices. So a lot of offices have been really able to benefit from eAssist Dental Solutions billing services. Okay, so here are 6 services that eAssist Dental Solutions offers, which may be of support to you in your practice. Dental insurance billing and aging. So we work the billing of the statement of the claims, as well as your insurance claims follow-up to make sure your insurance aging reports stay under wrap. Also, in eAssist offers insurance-ready credentialing and fee schedule updates, insurance verification and eligibility, dental practice accounting, bookkeeping, and payroll, as well as patient portion statements and billing, and full schedule, patient recall, and retention. So if any of these services would be of interest for you, feel free to reach out to your local Henry Schein rep, and they'll be able to give you more information and guidance. So 3 things that you'll take away today from this webinar. The first one's going to be understand what constitutes a clean claim and why they are crucial to your revenue cycle. The second one will be identifying the different types of denials, which tell you where the holes in your dental billing processes may be. And third is optimize the clean claims process and avoid claim processing delays, rejections, and non-payments. all of that affects your revenue cycle. So I started a little bit of a chat in the chat box. Would love to know where people are from, what your role in the office is. We want to be able to make sure I'm covering all aspects of the profession to help support you in your increasing your revenue through clean claims submission. So go ahead and drop in the chat where you're from, what state you're from, and what your role is in the practice. We'll give you a minute to do that.
Thank you, Lindsay. While we're waiting for responses, do you mind answering one of our attendees' questions?
Absolutely, happy to.
Thank you. Our question comes from one of our attendees, and the question was, how do I find the most current dental billing codes to use?
Oh, absolutely. That's a great question. So the ADA puts those out every year. An easy way is to go straight to Practice Booster. We have access to that information there with Dr. Charles Blair, as well as reach out to your Henry Schein local rep. They, through eAssist, have a quick form that shows you the current ADA codes that have been updated from last year to this year. And those are great resources, both of those, to be able to know what the current changes have been for the 2022. And we're about to launch or hear more about the 2023 changes. In the insurance newsletter that Practice Booster puts out, those will come in October in that newsletter, and you'll be able to know what's coming with those code changes. So reach out to Practice Booster. We would be happy to support you there as well.
Thank you, Lindsay. And then we've also had some responses from our attendees about where they're from, if you'd like me to read them out.
Yeah, let's hear from them.
Yeah, we've had Danielle, who's an insurance specialist. We've had Linda, who's a team lead at Val Vista. We have Christina from Arizona, who's a claims specialist. We have Trish from Phoenix, who's an office manager. We have Anna, who is a program coordinator at Country Core Dental. We have Lorraine from Texas, and we have Alice in the claim and billings department.
Wonderful. Well, great. You guys are in the right spot. You know, everybody came today for a particular reason. So over these next few minutes, within the hour, my goal is to make sure you're going to leave today with information that will support you in your job and delivering a peace of mind to your practice. So please feel free again to put any questions in the Q&A, and we'll get those answered throughout this webinar in the next hour. Thank you, Atu. All right, we have our first poll. The question is, do you currently collect 100% of what you're rightfully owed from every insurance company? There's going to be three options. The first one's yes, I think so most of the time, or definitely not. While you're filling out this poll, the average dental practice is only collecting about 91% of what they are rightfully owed. But most practices I've personally worked with are in the over 100% range. So if you're on this webinar because you're not at that 100% range, you are in the right place. This is what we do at eAssist. We help collect 100% of what is rightfully owed to you. So I have a quick story for you. I presented a webinar similar to this one in July, and one of the questions I was asked was, what report should I be looking at? Well, the thing that question triggered for me was this person probably isn't collecting over 100% and they're struggling, or else they may already know what numbers to be looking at. And so being here today, good job. Want you guys to make sure you are collecting 100% of what's rightfully owed to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. As we're having this poll question up, do you mind answering another question from our attendees?
I would love it.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Trish, and Trish wanted to know, after submitting a claim, where do I check to see if it's been denied?
That's a great question, and great for you to ask this because it is important to check those rejected claims daily. We don't want to prolong that process of those claims being paid and interrupt your cash flow. So submitting claims electronically, what you'll do is pull up your third-party claim submission company report and verify all claims have gone through, that none are being rejected or held up for any particular reason. If you're not familiar with how to pull that information out of your third-party claim submission company, definitely make that on your priority list to reach out to them and ask them to give you a tutorial on this. Because again, you want to be doing this daily. We don't want an interruption in your cash flow, but also we want to fix the problem and not just crutch it.
Thank you. And now we can take a look at our poll results.
Okay, that's great. Most of the time you're feeling like you're collecting over 100% of what's right below for you. Definitely not. So on those that say definitely not, research that a little bit more, find out what's going on. If there's no answers that you're finding, reach out to eAssist. We'd be happy to answer your questions on how to help you find that, what's the problem, and be of support to you in your practice. Thank you, Atu. Okay, so our first tip for clean claim management made easy. All providers are credentialed as soon as they are ready to join the practice. So this is the first thing to review with your process to do clean claims on submissions, to have all your providers credentialed accurately. This will be one of the most important steps to prevent a rejection on that claim. Credentialing all your providers. A couple of things here is to ensure provider and location are credentialed. You want both parts. Start credentialing process as early as possible and have an internal protocol for scheduling while the provider is waiting for credentialing. Ask the insurance carriers that you're credentialing with if the effective date for this associate is or on the application date or on the approval date. Add calendar reminders. This is also very, very helpful for the long haul process of credentialing, because you know we always have to re-credential. But create a note in your schedule to remind you at 90, 60, and 30 days when your providers will be up for re-credentialing. And a big tip I'll share with you is to create a spreadsheet. Create a spreadsheet to help keep all your information regarding credentialing in one centralized place. So credentialing providers or associates as soon as the contracts are signed, this will take anywhere from 60 to 90 days. So again, that's why we suggest to always do it as soon as you know you're going to have someone joining you. You do want to check up on the credentialing process every 2 weeks until your credentialing is completed. As we all know, working with insurance companies, a lot of times the left hand doesn't talk to the right hand, and someone was supposed to do something and someone didn't. So by you frequently checking up, you're just going to help that ball keep rolling. The internal protocol may look different from office to office, but most commonly, the uncredentialed provider will be billed out under a treatment of the practice owner when they're doing treatment under their NPI, who is fully credentialed. And then the spreadsheet that I was just sharing with you, it does provide a communication tool. And the biggest thing with that is when you go to follow up at your 90, 60, and 30 days, you're not going to really remember who you talked with, what the phone number was, things like that. So when you have this spreadsheet, some of the items on that you'll want to have is the insurance name, the insurance phone number, who you spoke with, if they have a direct contact you can call, as well as the dates you made phone calls and the date the provider's due to re-credential, and then any additional notes. So again, if you have a turnover in the office, you have a central place that all this information is, as a provider, this provider's not going to worry, oh no, who's going to take care of my credentialing, right? It's all going to be in one central location. Someone else can pick that up and keep moving forward with it. And that's what we want to do. We want to create less room for error and more consistency. So about a year ago, I'll share with you a quick story. An office I was working with on some insurance credentialing information, all of a suddenly, one of our associate providers had been dropped on EFT payments from MetLife. So in looking further into this, what we found out was the third-party payment company stopped communicating about this provider with MetLife. And unfortunately, we got the short end of the stick, but it was really great to be able to have this communication happen so quickly, and we knew who to talk to. that within the week, those EFTs were able to be picked up right again. So I have a question for you. When do you start the credentialing process for your new providers? Share your ideas in the chat so we can all learn from you as well. Moving on to our second tip for clean claim management made easy is we want to make sure our claims are being submitted on the most current and accurate ADA format. A pro tip for you, the current ADA format for claims is the 2019 format. Check into your practice management software to verify that is what your office currently has theirs set to. If you can't find where to locate that, call the technical support of your practice management software and they'll be happy to guide you through that. Just want to make sure you're in the know of how to do that. Because again, we never know where we're going to get a new guideline we have to follow on a format, right? And it'll be nice to know that information. So I have 3 things here to share with you about signs that your claims may be on the incorrect format. The first one will be if your claims are being rejected in a large amount by your clearinghouse. So again, you're pulling that rejected claims report from your third-party claim submission company and reviewing it. If you're seeing a large amount, there is something not communicating between that third party and your practice management software. The second tip is to continually having insurance companies tell you they don't have your insurance claim on file. You're hearing that a lot. Again, this is a sign that something is not communicating well between your practice management software and your third-party claim submission company. So you'll want to, this one of the things to check would be if it's on this correct ADA form. And then if your aging report is ballooning or just growing out of control, we want to check, make sure we're in the correct ADA claim form. So important note, insurance companies may not tell you if your claim format is out of date or incorrect on the EOB. So you can't rely on the insurance to share that information with you on the EOB. It will be something you'll want to be aware of. The third tip for our Clean Claims Made Easy is to use the correct CDT codes for the procedures completed. Using that correct code best describes the treatment rendered. With recent coding changes and additions, best practices is to match that CDT code with the most applicable nomenclature. And then you also need to specify if there's a need for a tooth number, a quadrant, or the arch for that code if it's required on the form. And then using the correct CDT code on the claim opens the door for more successful appeals if the service is denied. So just keeping everything in streamline. So code for what work the provider is doing. Then be sure to have the additional identifying teeth numbers, quadrant, arch, etc. So again, we can get that claim processed and paid on first submission. Always our goal. Yes. And I have a poll. Here's the question. Does your office utilize billing and coding resources? What do you have in your practice that helps you with your billing and coding? So here are the 3 choices. Yes, no, I wish, but I'm not sure which ones to get for my office. So while you're, yes.
Thank you, Lindsay. As we're waiting for responses to come in, Caitlin had a question based on what we were just speaking about. She wanted to know, do you have to make sure all credentials are up to date with all insurance companies, even the ones that they're not in network with?
Thank you. That's a great question. Absolutely. If you are billing your claims as an out-of-network provider for your patients, you're also telling them, we're going to take care of this for you. So out-of-network providers do need to be credentialed, but it's a different credentialing. You're not credentialing to be a contracted provider. You're credentialing to be able to submit claims on behalf of your patients to them. And this is the way your patients will receive that payment back from insurance on what their allowable is to pay that. And you're providing that service to make sure you do get that clean claim submission done.
Thank you, Lindsay. And we'll launch the results.
Okay. Looks like Yes, people use a billing and coding resource. I'm happy to see that 64%, almost 65%. Go ahead and drop in the chat box which resources you utilize. Share that with all of us. Again, we all know maybe different sources and things like that out there that others don't know. So by being here today, we're able to share with each other. So please feel free to share in the chat box what sources you utilize so we can all see. All right. So let's answer this question. Why are reference materials important? 65% of you understand why, and I'm really happy to see that. With the constant changes that we do get annually from the Code Maintenance Committee, that's why we need to use reference materials, is to understand what changes have been made or revised. It does reference update with new, revised, and deleted codes as well. ADA materials are very, very helpful. Dr. Charles Blair, the Coding Manuals Practice Booster Online Code Advisor, is an amazing tool, as well as the Insurance Solutions newsletter. That goes out every other month. A lot of helpful information there to make sure you're up to date on coding processes. So reference materials keep the office in the know of the most recent changes and how to use them. Again, Dr. Charles Blair editorial books and Insurance Solutions newsletter are the most up-to-date that I'm aware of in coordination with the ADA guidelines. And I have a pro tip for you. Investing in current, complete, and accurate billing reference materials each year will improve claim reimbursement, treatment planning, and more. So this is all your revenue enhancing processes. As we reviewed on the prior slide, investing in current ADA materials such as Dr. Charles Blair's coding materials, the Practice Booster Online, and Insurance Solutions newsletter are prime assets to provide to the administrative and billing team. That's great. So maximize your claim reimbursement. This is why we want to have our claims managed and made easily. Maximize your claim reimbursement. The insurance EOB will state if a non-covered service can be billed to the patient with office fees. If there is no PPO discount on a non-covered procedure, the patient is responsible for 100% of that office fee. So understanding the language on the EOB will allow for you to know what it is your provider contract obligation for write-offs. Maximize your reimbursement. Don't write off money that is rightfully yours to be reimbursed, no matter if it's from the insurance carrier or from the patient. You are a professional business providing healthcare to your patients. You have worked hard and sacrificed so much for your reputable education. A question for you. Does your practice charge out full office fee or PPO fees on the ledger? Please share with me in the chat so we can discuss the pros and cons. I'll share a pro tip, and this is post the PPO or agreement fee to the patient ledger and then bill out your UCR fee to the insurance companies. So this will give you accurate monthly production numbers and less credit adjustments later on. Billing that UCR fee on the insurance claim does allow for the office to not miss out on any increase of payment for a procedure. So that's saying insurance has increased, say, intraoral PA, and you submit out your UCR fee, but you post to your ledger, say, $25. Insurance sends back a payment for $28. That $3 difference now becomes an insurance balance forward, but because you submitted on the claim the UCR fee or your full practice fees, you're able to keep that money and not need to give it either to the patient as a credit or reimburse the insurance. So make sure you're using this system to send out on your claims your UCR fee so that you can not miss out on any increase of payment, and that will maximize your reimbursement. So I'm going to add a side note to this. It's extremely important to annually update your contracted fee schedules in your practice management software. Some insurances will start sending them out November, December time. Can't enter them in yet. You do need to wait until January or it will throw off your current numbers you're billing out and your adjustments. But create a folder, keep them all together. Come January 1, you'll want to update those so that you are maximizing, again, your reimbursement. All right, maximize your claim reimbursement. Can your dental biller make the distinction between a rejected claim, disallowed, or denied claims? This is often the primary step in whether or not an appeal is warranted. So 3 things we're going to discuss about this. On an EOB, when you get back with no payment, if it's a rejected claim, this is when it's kicked back as a result of a line item not on the claim form able to be processed. The line item on the claim form is not able to be processed. So the claim has been reviewed for accuracy, corrected, and resubmitted. Rejected claims are really time consuming, but can be avoidable. So utilizing the correct CDT code, making sure you have the correct attachments, the correct tooth number, arch, things like that. Disallowed claims. When a procedure is disallowed, the insurance payer has determined it doesn't qualify for the adjudication per the patient's plan. So this means it's not going to process for payment. Disallowed procedures aren't billable to patient and should be written off. On that EOB states the services rendered are disallowed. Procedures may be terribly frustrating for both the provider and the patient if it results in an unexpected balance. So that's important to have your insurance benefits breakdown completed before the patient comes in. So when you do provide that treatment plan, you're able to share with them this is not a covered benefit on your policy. This is our office fee, and this will be your patient portion. The third identifier for a claim not warranted payment is going to be denied claims. It's important to not get this mistaken between the disallowed or rejected. A denied claim is when the insurance payer has determined the claim doesn't qualify for reimbursement, and the reason will be stated on that EOB. If the claim is denied due to missing data or filing and errors, that's a reason to appeal. So it's not a truly denied claim for no payment. It's saying we can't process it because we don't have all the information we need. So if ever you have any questions of which category an EOB falls under, whether it's rejected, disallowed, or denied, contact the insurance, speak with a representative. If the representative isn't answering your question, don't get off the phone. Stay on the phone and speak to a supervisor. It is okay. They're there to help you. And oftentimes the language that they speak to you in will tell you what you're missing. So listen really carefully. You'll get a lot of information out of the response from the supervisor or the claim support representative. Okay. Submit under the correct rendering provider. Submitting your claims with the correct rendering provider, you want to check all claims for the correct credentialed rendering provider before sending. So when you put batch your claim out to your batch processor or before you directly submit it, check and make sure your correct rendering provider is present. If the rendering provider is an associate provider, confirm the correct billing provider is on the claim before sending. And remember, hygienists are not rendering providers. They do not need to be, or you don't want them listed on the claim. The doctor who performs the exam will be considered that rendering provider. If the claim is not billed under the correct rendering provider, this will cause a long process to correct the claim for accuracy and delays the payment. So before the claim is batched out, you want to review 3 things. The billing provider is accurate. The rendering provider, this is a section which would be changed on your claim for associate providers. And then your paid to provider. Those 3 things you want to check. Here's my pro tip for you. Create a provider code, initials, and a digit in your practice management software so you can pull accurate numbers for reporting claim-based associates, commission-based associates. So scenario would be if you have 3 providers in the office, one of them is the owner, 2 of them are the associates. If your associate treatment is billed out under the owner, the tip for tracking the associate's production is to create this provider code designated as an indicator for each associate provider for reviewing that production and collection. The codes signify which associate under the owner did the treatment and allow you to identify the difference between who's doing what and be able to commission-based pay them. Hope that was a helpful tip. Number 6, always have accurate patient and insurance information. We've all ran into this before, right? When we cannot read a patient's writing and we put their information into the system incorrectly, and then it just compiles a problem. So always make sure if you can't read someone's handwriting that you ask the patient if they can tell you and update it with them real quick before you send any claims out, because it's so hard to correct those claims when that happens, or the delay that it causes, and then your cash flow gets delayed. So what does it mean to be accurate? This is all of the data entry information, which will be in your practice management software, utilized for the claim and submitted to insurance. So what this means is the employer has the subscriber and the independent information has to be the same as the practice management software. This also means you are obtaining a breakdown of insurance benefits annually. It is so much easier and cost-effective to follow these steps before a claim is submitted than after, when you have to do that backtracking and contact the patients. While they're in office, tons easier to clarify. The quality of your insurance verification is directly correlated to the quality of your claims. This is the number one reason why claims don't get processed on that first submission, is due to incorrect patient and/or information. So I can't stress enough to you how important this is for your insurance revenue cycle. Spend the time obtaining insurance breakdown of benefits for your patients. It saves time and money in the long run to do this accurately, efficiently, and consistently. You won't play catch up on the back end. You won't see your aging report balloon. Do this verification. Be attentive to your data entry. Double check the spelling of names, date of birth, and address. This will help prevent claims from being rejected as well. We have a poll. Here's the question. Does your office currently and on a regular basis verify insurance benefits for every new patient and annually for existing patients? I would love to hear your response. There's 4 options. Yes, no, I don't know. I'm not convinced verifying benefits makes a difference. Give you a few minutes to fill that out.
Thank you, Lindsay. Regarding your earlier questions about claims, we do have a few responses from our attendees.
Okay.
Trish said that the ledger is posted at PPO, but it's billed to insurance as UCR. And Cheryl said that we charge out on the ledger, but the PPO fees, but the standard fees are on claims.
Yes, you on the claim going out to insurance, you want your UCR fee, which is most often the same as your office fee. And again, that allows for you to not miss out on any increase of benefits for a procedure. Posting to your ledger, your contracted fee reduces your amount of adjustments that you do. So it gives you true numbers at the end of the month and less adjustments, less wondering, is this our true fee? If you're looking to go out of network, then you would want to post to your ledgers your office fee so that you can easily identify through your adjustments which insurance company you're losing the most money with. So every office is different and what their end goal is. You just pick what's best for your office and then stick to that.
Thank you, Lindsay. And then regarding your question about billing resources, Michelle said that she uses AAPC.
AAPC, that's great. As long as you're finding you are getting the most accurate information, a tool is better than no tools. All right, how are we doing on our poll? Is everybody getting their answers in?
To launch that poll right.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Wonderful. 87% of you here today are verifying insurance benefits. Give yourself a pat on the back. That is phenomenal. For those of you that are not, Maybe make a challenge to yourself to see where you can fit that into your office to make sure you're delivering that to your patients. It will really help you on your treatment plan presenting and case acceptance, which will increase your office revenue and production. Perfect. All right, here we go. The value of accurate patient and insurance information. 65% of offices are insurance driven. Reviewing this information for accuracy is crucial to the health of your revenue cycle management. Some things to have that will help you with your claims follow-up is to have a copy of the insurance card and photo ID on file. The reason why I suggest this always is, one, if you can't read the writing of a patient and you need to be able to see something with it written out, typed up legibly. The other two is if you're on the phone with an insurance company and they're asking you some information and they ask for the spelling and they have a different spelling on file than you do, you can pull up this insurance card or photo ID and be able to verify if in your practice management software that has the claim sent out with the incorrect information or correct, or if the insurance actually is the one that has the patient information incorrect on file. And it will help you to know which avenue to resolve the problem. So if the insurance has any information incorrect, spelling to say of a patient name, then you know you need to contact this subscriber. They need to get with their HR department at their employment, and their HR needs to correct that with the insurance so that this claim can be processed for payment. If it's simply something in our practice management software was typed in incorrectly, all you need to do is correct that, resubmit the claim with an updated, accurate spelling so they can process that claim for payment. The next tip, check all claims for the correct patient information. Again, legal name, date of birth, ID number, employment for subscriber, all that's important to have. And then check all claims for the accurate insurance information. Need the correct insurance address, not the location of the insurance, but their claim submission address. That needs to be on the claim accurately. The group number, the payer ID. The payer ID, as you know, acts like a telephone number. So when the electronic claim submission company is sending that over, it's going through to reach the insurance payer and not getting held up in that submission process. So it's imperative to have the subscriber's ID as well as that social security number. Majority of companies do require the subscriber ID. However, if you are on the phone with an insurance company and you don't have the correct subscriber ID for some reason, if you are able to give them the social security number, they'll still talk to you and be able to answer your questions regarding your claims or whatever it is you need to talk about for resolution. And so that's why we recommend obtaining that social security number. It'll be helpful for you. And we all know right now, wait times with insurance companies are so long. It's painful to hear if you have to call back, right? I know you all are shaking your head. I agree. I have a pro tip for you here. If you are resubmitting a claim with requested additional information, in the remarks portion of the claim, include corrected claim and the claim number to prevent your clearinghouse from denying it as a duplicate claim. Not only could it be denied in the clearinghouse as a duplicate claim, it can also reach the insurance and be sent back to you with an EOB as rejected as a duplicate as well, because they're not identifying it's correlated with something you've already submitted initially. Number 7, don't forget to include documentation and attachments. If you're not sure what documentation should be in the clinical notes to utilize for a narrative, Practice Booster has a new book called Dental Documentation with Confidence. Currently, you can head over to practicebooster.com and go to the store, and you'll see this book to be able to do a pre-order. I've had the privilege to being on the team of a lot of knowledgeable and extremely skilled editors, and we are so thrilled to offer this book to our dental professionals. So go check that out. So good documentation will be found in the SOAP notes. Let's review SOAP notes. It feels good to be squeaky clean with good documentation and clinical notes. SOAP notes, SOAP is an acronym, and S stands for subjective. This is the patient's chief complaint, And most commonly, it comes when the patient calls in and needs to schedule an appointment. So this is our front office answering the phone and gathering the information of why the patient needs to be seen. Or it could be patients in for a cleaning and the hygienist is making notes of that chief complaint. The O stands for objective. The vital signs, examination findings, health history, update. Has this patient had an update in a prescription, and the prescription is causing some oral health care issues? The A stands for assessment. Diagnosis, reasoning evidence behind diagnosis if applicable. So the assessment is the doctor seeing what condition the mouth is in and what we need to do to resolve whatever situation is going on. And then your plan, which is the P, how the provider will treat the patient's concern. These are your SOAP notes, very, very critical to have in your narrative, in your clinical notes, so the front office team can write a good, healthy narrative. Our goal is our claims be processed and paid on first submission. If it's not documented, it didn't happen. We've heard that before, so we've got to make sure we are following through with documentation in our clinical notes. Inadequate documentation equals reduced reimbursement. This leads to elevated frustration in the team, lower profitability, inflated overhead, and the list goes on. This is very avoidable. Our SOAP notes keep claims clean. A clean claim has all accurate information and supporting document to show why the treatment was necessary and why it was rendered. So keep the office cash flow consistent with adequate notes. Follow the SOAP note template in the patient clinical note, and you will have less rejected claims. I'm going to just repeat that one more time. Keep the office cash flow consistent with adequate notes. Follow the SOAP note template in the patient clinical notes, and you will always have less rejected claims. A pro tip for you, inadequate or non-existent documentation increases risk, prompts insurance company audits, and could lead to prison time. Well, ask me how I know. eAssist has many clients who are on claim audit. If you have ever been through a claim audit, it is very time-consuming and detail demanding, and I'll add a side note, painful. Just adds another task to your day, as well as very hard to get off of claim audits. To prevent being audited, SOAP notes will save you. We're finding a lot of insurances are now asking for a screenshot of clinical notes. Again, if it's not in the clinical note, it didn't happen. So be sure your clinical notes are where you're happy with if an insurance is ever to ask for a screenshot. Clinical notes do need both signatures of the provider and the hygienist or dental assistant. So after the patient SOAP notes have all been put in, verify the clinical team has signed off on notes entered. So front office administration team can be helpful to make sure that is happening. I would love for you to answer this question for me. What type of documentation are you most likely to forget? We have a couple of options here. The first is going to be your oral cancer screening. The second is your date or prior existing of restorations being replaced, or documentation of TMJ or TMD. I'll give you a minute to answer that.
Thank you, Lindsay. We have a question from Patricia.
Okay.
She had a question regarding the write-offs. She has a patient who was double covered and the provider is contracted with both insurances. In that situation, how should she handle the write-offs in coordination of the benefits?
That's a great question. Thank you, Patricia. I appreciate you asking that. Coordination of benefits can get really, really tricky. When you have two insurances, one for primary, one for secondary, the lowest contracted fee is the one you apply your adjustments to. The patient gets the benefit of the lowest contracted fee. If you have more questions on that, you can look at practicebooster.com. We do offer a coordination of benefits training that can really help teams make sure they're not adjusting off too much and they're understanding how that coordination of benefits works between insurance companies, or one insurance company and the other one you're out of network with, those kinds of situations. And we'd be able to really help educate the team
Thank you, Lindsay. We're ready
Yes.
for the poll.
Okay. I really appreciate the honesty here on this question for documentation, which one you would forget. The date of prior existing restoration is at about 71%. And what alarms me about this is you're probably having a lot of claims that need to get additional information to insurance on if we're not obtaining that prior placement date. That is one of the critical notes in your narrative on that claim form that needs to be present. Insurance wants to know that it's not being replaced within their allowed or not allowed time frame. Typically, restorations are allowed, major restorations are allowed to be replaced every 7 to 10 years. Sometimes it's after 5. But if you don't have that initial placement date of the restoration, whether it's a denture, a bridge, a crown, a partial, an implant replacement, then it'll automatically be denied. And if you read it as a denial and think they're just not going to pay, when actually all they just need is an additional bit of information for processing the claim for adjudication and payment, you're missing out on that money. So make sure all of those today that said, this is probably the biggest thing they forget, make it a goal that tomorrow you'll pay more attention to making sure that question's being asked on any patients that are having major treatment replaced. And it'll become second nature. Get your team on board, it'll become second nature. Thank you, Aju. Critical supportive clinical documentation. Here's some items that need to be present as for attachments. One, commonly for your scaling and root planning or your periodontal maintenance is going to be a recent periodontal charting. That needs to be done within 12 months. You will want to have a current preoperative x-ray. This could, you also would want bite wings within the last 12 months. PAs need to be within the last 2 months. Panorex in the last 5 years, and insurance will accept that, but it has to be within the last 5 years. Also, pre and post-op intraoral photos are extremely helpful for getting for payment of larger cases. Pre-op and post-op x-rays for endo treatment, crown preps and crown seats, and extractions. They want to see everything. Insurance wants to see everything has been completed from start to end. So pre and post-op x-rays are very, very needed. And then post-op x-rays for pre-op x-rays for dentures. So the attachments, know which procedures need to have a perio chart on submission of the claim, know which treatment needs to have a pre and post-op x-rays. That'll really help your claims be processed and paid on first submission. The date of prior placement of crown, bridge, or denture is required information needed for a claim that is being replaced or a new restoration. As we just talked about, again, we do want that existing date or initial date of placement. So as you're replacing one of these procedures, a crown, a bridge, or denture, you have that to add to that claim. So don't let your claims pile up. Sending clean claims daily ensures timely reimbursement and steady cash flow for your practice, which any business owner needs to have that cash flow consistent. There's a lot going in and a lot going out. Everybody plays an important role in the office, in the dental profession, to support those claims having all the needed information for submission and payment. So reminder, what does a clean claim mean? Accurate data entry, which is all the subscriber and patient information, utilizing a correct CDT-10 code, correct insurance information and entry, any required attachments and narratives. So good SOAP notes. Delivering a peace of mind. That's what eAssist is all about. I'm super excited I was able to present to you guys today. Thank you for this opportunity and your support. I love the dental profession. It's always growing. There's always new things coming. So it always just keeps us enlightened and wanting to know more. Follow these 7 steps and you'll see an increase in your insurance reimbursements. your clean claims submission. You'll have less rejections. Your insurance aging report won't balloon. And if you're finding it's really hard to catch up and you can't just get there, reach out to your local Henry Schein rep and they'll be able to connect you with eAssist and you can go from there. I really appreciate this time.
Thank you, Lindsay. We'll launch that last survey, and then for the Q&A, I do have a few notes for our attendees.
Okay.
As a reminder, if anyone has any questions, please type it into the box labeled "Have a Question," and we'll address them right now. We do have some questions, and we will launch this poll. Thank you, Lindsay. Our first question is, how soon can an office start credentialing a new provider?
Yes, so we went over that, and if you missed it, no big deal. So start credentialing a new provider to the practice as soon as you know they're going to join. So if they've signed a contract with the practice, no problem. Grab their information that you need, all the credentialing information from this new associate, and get it going as soon as possible. It can take up to 90 to 120 days for them to fully be credentialed with the office. And so we don't want to delay that process.
Lindsay, our next question is, what is the fastest way to receive payment from an insurance company?
Oh, sure. So the fastest way to receive a payment from an insurance company is going to be through EFT. It will take some coordination of a blank check and their form that they require you to fill out before that process will happen. But typically you can get funds into the bank pretty quickly after you've submitted the claim. It can be, instead of being 30 to 45 days, it could be 14 to 21 days.
Thank you.
Do you have some more questions?
Yes, we do. Our next question is, do I have to submit a perio chart with every perio maintenance claim submission?
Oh, that's a good question. For perio maintenance, not all insurances require it, but I do recommend you do send a perio chart every time with your perio maintenance code, just so that claim can be processed on first submission and they're not waiting for anything and there's not a delay in your cash flow.
Lindsay, and I think this might be our last question.
Okay.
Is there a way to track if any procedures have not been attached to a claim for submission?
Oh, absolutely. In most practice management softwares, you can run a report. And if you don't know where that report is located, reach out to your practice management software support line. But you can pull a report date-based and just maintain that. Say every Thursday, you're going to pull this procedures not attached to an insurance claim report and be able to review, create those that need to go to insurance or mark them as not needing to be sent to insurance, and maintain that every week so you don't get a lag or a delay on balances on patients' accounts because the claim didn't get sent out. Keeping those relationships positive with your patients because you're up to date on what needs to go out from their ledger to insurance.
Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you again for the great presentation. If anyone has any outstanding questions, please email us at webinars@henryschein.com. As a thank you for attending, everyone will receive the recording of tonight's webinar via email in the next week. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you again, Lindsay, and we look forward to seeing everyone in our future webinars.
Thank you.